In the first reading of today, we hear the lamentations of Jeremiah. Why was Jeremiah lamenting? He was lamenting because he was sent to preach to a people who, though chosen by God, themselves chose not to be God's people. And he found himself always complaining, always crying. But today we celebrate a man who stood on the side of right, who chose light over darkness, and chose suffering over leisure, chose death over temporary life, because he understood that the death facing him would lead him to life everlasting. We celebrate the King of Norway, King Olav. And the gospel reading today confirms this important choice I'm talking about, because it is about Matthew, the gospel according to St. Matthew, chapter 13, from verse 44. The kingdom of heaven is like the treasure hidden in a field, which a man finds, and in his joy, he runs home, sells everything he owns, and comes back to buy that field. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, that we can prefer than to prefer Christ. When we are faced with a choice, in little things or so as much as great things, we are commanded by Christ to choose him as this treasure hidden in a field. When he converted on his way to Damascus, St. Paul had this strange and mysterious experience, the experience that led him throughout the rest of his life. And we know this from his letters. The letters, I'm sure, that King Olav read, that sustained him in his hours of trial. When he wrote to the Philippians, if we read chapter 3, verse 10, St. Paul wrote, "For me, all I want is to know Christ and the power of his resurrection." All I want is to know Christ and the power of his resurrection. At the beginning of his letter to the same Philippians, he wrote, "Vivere Christus est." For me, what is life? It is Christ. To live is Christ, but to die is gain. I know that King Olav must have read these writings of St. Paul. That must have inspired him to choose Christ at the moment of trial, to choose the treasure hidden in a field. When he was faced with death, the only way out of that danger was to deny Christ. He said, "No, what is life? It is Christ. Vivere Christus est." And when he was ruminating on what all these things mean, he must have remembered St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians, second letter to the Corinthians, if we read chapter 5, verse 14, where St. Paul wrote, "Caritas Christi urget nos," that the love of Christ overwhelms us. For if we now think that someone died for all, everyone should be ready to die for him. And dying for Christ means dying for the truth. It means dying for the faith. It means refusing to deny the truth. It means saying no to darkness and the false ideologies. Caritas Christi urget nos. We are challenged to do the same. We may not be facing death like St. Olav, but in the small things, small challenges of our lives, we are commanded by Christ to choose him. Because in this world, Christ is not always obvious. He is like the the treasure hidden in a field. It is by having the Spirit of Christ that we can find that treasure. St. Olav found the treasure, and he chose Christ. He died for Christ, and he is with Christ today.